we have a fun plan for everyone. We're going to make a Halloween house. Who makes the best house wins. So would you like to do that, everyone? Yeah! Thank you all. Thank you.
Testing. Testing.
1, 2, 3.
You can hear me okay?
I hear you just fine.
Good. All right, things are working. We have organized clutter on the table, but you guys can't see that.
Sorry, I was taking a drink of my protein shake. We got Henley, we got hair ties. We got
pen we kind of need, I guess.
pen we do need.
Yeah, we
my
got
protein
some
shake.
Camera batteries, we're good.
I'm so proud of myself because I went to the gym this morning.
Yeah, you wanted to fall right back asleep.
I sure did. And he goes, oh, you could go ahead and fall back asleep. I'll take the kids to school, which
Funny moment.
Yeah, most women would be like, wow, thanks, hubby. I mean, usually I am like, okay, thank you. But I was like, that's not very supportive. I'm trying to go to the gym.
Yeah, wish you were more supportive.
He's
it's
like,
just like me saying to her, Jamie, you shouldn't eat chocolate. And then all day she's going to want to eat chocolate.
Yeah, and I'm like, why are you telling me not to eat chocolate?
She's told me not to say, don't do something.
Yeah.
Because that's what she'll want to do.
Yeah, and so I said to him, I was like, oh, I would love to go back to bed. Oh my gosh, I'm so tired.
I was like, yeah, I got this.
He's like, yeah, go ahead. I'm like, really? That's not very supportive. And he's like, well, if I tell you to go to the gym, you're not. I'm like, yeah, I guess you are fighting a losing battle here.
It's a lose-lose.
That's not fair at all.
Doesn't matter what I say.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to do is go to the gym. I really want more structure and stability, and I feel like, I don't know. I feel like the reason that I don't go to the gym in the morning is because I always just think that I'm too tired and I'll do better in the afternoon. But really, it's just a great way, I feel like, to try to get something done in the morning. And so that way the whole day you're not hemming and hawing, or at least I'm not hemming and hawing over, I'm going to have to go to the gym and do this. It's like, that's done. It's already done and over with. And
well, some people aren't morning gym people.
I would like to say that I wasn't, but I'm trying to turn myself into one.
Okay.
Is there hope for turning a night owl into a morning person?
You know, I don't know how, I guess, are you still, so anybody that doesn't know this, Jamie was a labor and delivery nurse. I guess once a labor and delivery nurse, always. A labor and delivery nurse, but she would work the overnight hours. And I feel like that's got to be a tough transition.
I mean, that was a few years ago, but yeah, I just tend to enjoy staying up late, and not for nothing, but they say creative people do like to stay up later. I mean, you like to stay up late too, Doug.
I know. I don't need very much sleep.
Which I think is so unfair. I mean, he can literally fly on 4 or 5 hours of sleep.
That's all I need.
If I had 4 or 5 hours of sleep, like, you'd have to drag me across the floor. Like,
I've just been so used to it. I
don't know how. I feel like I need 10 hours of sleep.
Yeah, like when Jamie and I first got together on Married at First Sight, we would have, she would work the overnight hours. So I would be, when we were staying together, we were
staying together. Well, we did move in together. Our first time living together, meeting each other, getting to know each other, all the same.
But as I was leaving,
marrying each other.
Yeah, as I was leaving, Jamie was just coming home. Mm-hmm. And then when I got home, Jamie would be at work. So we really only saw each other maybe 4 days a week during the experiment, because
literally
she was
all
working overnight.
Yeah, and all the hours that we saw each other was pretty much captured on camera, because because we were filming 12-hour days. And so I remember, like, when we met with our doctor, was Dr. Logan, and we met with her, and like, they start the day right at 9 a.m. But I'm like, you all got to sleep last night. Right. Like, I didn't get to sleep. So consider me like working, but
you were a trooper.
I was too shy and like didn't want to seem like difficult. And so I just came home from working a 12-hour shift and made myself look presentable, and was handing Dr. Logan like pastries in the morning to like welcome her. She was at her house. And so, that was a lot back then. Speaking of that though, what was your day-to-day like before you got married to me? Because I don't.
Yeah. So this is a question that I got. Well, there's two big questions that I get a lot is, what were you doing right before Married at First Sight? And then what was the process leading up to it? Because
we get that question all the time.
And it's a little different now, because you have to remember that Married at First Sight didn't exist in the United States before us.
Right. Like, there was no one knew what Married at First Sight was before us. We were season 1.
Right. This was a Danish show that I think they only did 1 or 2 seasons, or that's all that had been out there.
But man, bring it to America, and we're on season 18 now.
There we go. But they played, or they kind of pitched this to some of the cast, or as they were recruiting for people, as a love experiment. They never said Married at First Sight until the end. It was a love experiment, and were you interested, and did you live in the tri-state area, so New York, New Jersey, Connecticut area? And I remember I was sitting in the parking lot, and so right before
what parking lot? That's really asking the deep questions.
Yeah, I forget what parking. I think it was. It might have been a fast food parking lot.
Probably.
But we had. I remember it because I had been seeing someone right before the experiment. But there was like a 2-week sort of break where she broke it off with me.
Who was it?
I don't want to say her name.
Well,
you
do I know her?
Yeah. It's one of your sister-in-law's friends.
One of my sister-in-law's friends? One of our sister-in-laws?
Yeah, our sister-in-law's friends.
Your sister-in-law, too.
One of Carrie's friends.
Okay, so I think I know who that is.
She was in the wedding party.
She was in the wedding party? Oh,
Yeah.
in Carrie's wedding. Whoa, clarify these things, Doug. I'm like, what? Carrie's wedding party.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we were...
Did you guys sleep together?
Yeah, well, that's mainly what we were doing. It was just, it kind of started out as just, you're single, I'm single. Yeah. And so...
And you just slept together?
Well...
You're single,
no,
I'm single, let's hook up?
Well, no. There was a getting to know you phase and kind of building on a relationship. But then she had broke up with me. And at that point, I had caught a feeling.
Oh, you liked her?
Yeah, I started to like her. Like it upset me that she had broke it off because I did start to like her. But again, I was upfront about me having a history with pain medication and having that addiction. That was a very touchy subject for her because she had a past relationship where that's what had happened. And I think she had other connections to it, but that was a main sort of, I don't want to say it curbed it, but it certainly kept it from going to any next level whatsoever. But I remember this because 2 weeks later, or within 2 weeks, I got that phone call. I believe that I had a profile on Reality Casting Wanted or something. It was some reality site that I had a profile on, and I guess they got everybody's name and numbers, and they just called. And I remember getting a voicemail saying, it's so-and-so, we're Kinetic producers, we have a new show that's coming up, a love experiment, would you be interested? I called back and went through that process, and the rest is history. Wow,
that was like 2 weeks before? That's it? Like she broke up with you 2 weeks before?
Yeah.
That's it?
We weren't a boyfriend-girlfriend thing, but I started to, I caught a feeling and thought that it could have been more.
Oh, Doug, it's so cute how you say you caught a feeling.
Yeah, that was, I had caught a feeling.
If I wasn't so confident in our marriage, I would be like, what? That was 2 weeks before we got married?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
you had feelings for someone else on the day that we said I do?
No.
Well, you kind of did.
It was over by then. I had caught a feeling, but...
I caught a feeling.
When it wasn't going anywhere, You
let that feeling go, you caught it, and then you released it.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really take long. You know, like it wasn't like we had a major commitment to each other or, we weren't living together or by any means. It was just more or less just a hangout that I thought there was potential for it, but then it turned out that there wasn't. Yeah,
I mean, I shouldn't say...
I was going to say, you were kind of dating somebody
I
we were...
Well, I was dating someone, kind of. Not really. It's kind of the same thing. Like, not to sound like... I mean, I met someone on Tinder, and he was a really great guy, but I wrote about it in my book, Wifey 101, but it had nothing to do with him and everything to do with me for real though. Like, it's not you, it's me, but it really was that because I was appeared to be very wealthy. And
what was this? It was in Manhattan.
yeah, and he lived in Manhattan. I mean, like he owned an apartment on the Upper East Side, but that wasn't a cool area of town for him. So he rented that apartment out, and he got his own apartment down in a cooler area. And I don't know, like he just had I remember his couch was $4,000, which honestly, that's pretty much how much. I mean, some couches just cost that.
How did you find that out? Did he say it?
Because
or was the
you didn't read my
it?
book, did you? Because I wrote about this in the book. No, the tag wasn't on it, but Lady peed on it. Lady was a puppy. Oh my gosh. So Lady was a puppy, and we were seeing. I mean, we were kind of steady. I mean, I wasn't like I was dating anyone else. I wasn't much of a dater though. Like I didn't it's not like I did that.
Well, it must have been hard too because you were a
night nurse.
A night nurse. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would see him. Yeah. Doug, he's holding up my book, Wifey 101.
What chapter was this in?
You're so funny. But no,
available at Amazon and anywhere you can get books.
Just Amazon mostly, I think.
Just Amazon.
Actually. But anyways, so we were like dating, and I don't remember why Lady was in his apartment, but she was a puppy and she was mad that I left her there. Because she used to go to like puppy daycare in Manhattan. That's like a whole thing. And I loved the puppy daycare. I mean, so that's what I would do when I was like trying to sleep or whatever. She would be at the puppy daycare. But anyways, so she peed on his couch, and he was like, he freaked out over it. I mean, who wouldn't? It was a brand new white couch. I mean, that is quite gross.
It was white.
And it was white. God. Yeah. And she peed on it. Like, why are you gonna pee on the couch? Like, not the floor. Like, you could pee anywhere, but like not the couch or like a mattress or something.
And it's a girl dog, so she squats, or if she does a handstand.
Yeah, like she just straight up got on the couch where you sit and peed. And we came home.
She was claiming her territory.
I guess so. And so whenever we came back, like that was there, and he was really upset about that. I mean, who wouldn't be? I mean, even if it was a $100 couch, like don't pee on my couch. Like that's so gross. But he handled it like a champ. He was a real great guy, but he told me the couch was $4,000 and otherwise he wouldn't mind so much. He's like trying to look up the tutorials, like how to like clean pee out of the couch. And I'm like, wow, like he's really particular about this. And I think that was like something so monumental in my brain, because I was like, first of all, like I couldn't even afford a $4,000 couch. Like who spends that? Even though that's really not an astronaut. I mean, couches are expensive, but, I don't know. I mean, but we lived in Manhattan. It's not like it was a big couch. That was a small couch for $4,000. Yeah. I was like, the last car I owned, I literally paid $1,500 for. So your couch cost double for my last car.
I mean, that was more than my first car.
1,500?
No, 4,000.
Oh yeah. Like, I mean, I don't know. So he was just very wealthy. It seemed to me anyways. I actually don't even know that, but I'm pretty certain that he was quite wealthy, came from a very wealthy family. And I never felt comfortable around wealthy people or anybody with any sort of like a doctor or even nurses. Like,
that's why you were so comfortable with me.
Honestly, not for nothing, but yeah. Like I was like, I mean, even your family though, because it was so middle class with like the cookie cutter house and the nice development. And like two parents, who eat dinner together. And I'm like, this is all so weird. Yeah. But the fact that I'll tell you what I liked about you was that day one into our marriage, and you were wearing just a pair of jeans and a really old ratty like sweater from. It
was a great sweater. Don't say
I know.
It was
sorry. It was a great sweater, but it was like lived in, and it wasn't like you were trying to impress me with like, I don't know.
That was my lifeguard sweatshirt.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, I really found that so attractive, because I was like, I didn't want to be married to someone that I couldn't be myself around, that I couldn't bring home to, to my family. I mean, I lived in a trailer park. And so not that I still did, but I just wanted whoever it was to not be opposed to trailers or trailer parks or to think less of us. I didn't want my siblings to feel less than whoever I met. I mean, I just wanted us to all be able to be a big, happy family. And I just couldn't see bringing him home ever. I mean, this guy is a great guy. He's going to be a great husband to someone.
So was he, how soon was that, or how close was that to the show?
Well, he knew that I like had gotten, cause we also weren't like boyfriend, girlfriend, like we were never official or anything. We were just kind of hanging out. We had just
hooking
been
up.
Hanging out. I mean, it was kind of a little bit more than hooking up, but like I wasn't in love with him. But what I mean by that is like, I didn't realize, I guess, how much more it was until I found out about doing this. And I was very honest the whole time that like, oh, I'm really excited about this, you know, and I told him about it and, you know, you're still just kind of hanging out a little bit. And then when I was like, yeah, this is happening. And
did he make a big push for it?
Well, no,
or for you, I mean?
Yeah, he called me crying and said he loved me.
Oh.
Yeah. And I was like, I feel like the worst person in the world because obviously I didn't feel that way because and then at that point, that was like, there was no going back. Like either way, like if I had any feelings for him, then I should definitely go back because obviously there would be nothing if like you and I didn't work out. It's not like I could be like, hey, want to hang out? But like, but also like it put so much pressure on. I mean, that was like the definite end. This was obviously before we ever got married, but that was a definite end because I was like, oh man, he is in love with me and I'm not there. And of course, back then I wasn't sure I could get there. Now I'm like, listen, if you find a good guy and they tell you that they're in love with you and you don't feel it immediately, don't just write them off because I found a good guy also later on who I married named Douglas Hehners. And
she said it first.
I mean, I did say it. I did. But like what I'm saying though, is that you were into me and I didn't have those feelings first. Pardon me. And yeah, I'm like, you really can grow into that. And like, I can't tell you, like day in and day out, I think about the fact that if we hadn't been married and I wasn't like, not that I was obligated or anything, but marriage really did make a difference in our relationship. Like if we had been dating with some of the hurdles that we went through, we wouldn't be here today. I mean, we really wouldn't be. And that just says a lot I think first of all, it's for our commitment to each other and to marriage.
And I was going to say, and to marriage.
I mean, we were really dedicated. Like we really wanted a family. We really wanted marriage and each other, even when it was tough. But if I had just been dating you, it definitely wouldn't have gone that far. Cause I would have been like, no, you always think there's like someone else and the grass could be greener and you'll find someone without these issues, but you'll never find someone with absolutely zero issues who you're completely smitten with. I mean, there's always going to be something. And if there's not right now in your relationship, there probably will be. And that's not like a big red flag.
What you're saying is the grass is always greener on the other side.
What I'm saying is the grass is always greener where you water it. And so,
well, I mean, even based on stories that you've told and that I've heard, you didn't really give many chances. Like it was one and done for you for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Thank you for sipping on our podcast.
Sorry, I'm drinking a protein shake. But that was just because I was trying to protect myself, I think, and guard my heart. But I mean, this guy, his name is Matthew, and he was, which I love that name, Matthew. It's a great name. My nephew's Matthew, and I love my nephew.
Brother's Matthew.
Yeah. Matthew's just a strong, solid name. I love it. But anyways, his name was Matthew, and he was a really nice guy. And
I think it's a weird thing with guys because, if you don't want to be the one to say, I love you first. It's like a weird thing. But then when something is slipping away, it's like a thing that guys jump to for some reason. Yeah. Especially if it's like something that's going to get broken up with, whether you feel that strongly about the person or not, it's like there's something to that of someone just saying that it's not going to work out. And then all of a sudden you love them.
Like calls me crying and tells me he loves me. And and he said something about the only reason I hadn't met his family yet is because he didn't think I was ready. And I was like, whoa, Nelly.
Okay.
Yeah. I was like, oh, well, I wasn't ready. And I'm glad we had talked, he was very, very close to his mom and his sister. And we weren't really, I didn't think we were that serious, but, interesting anyway. So that really kind of broke my heart though, because I didn't want someone to be in love with me and then I'm not in love with them. That doesn't feel good. That feels awful. And so that was kind of definitely a sign.
So you got on, you told him that you were getting on the show, and that you got picked.
Yeah. Well, for me, it was really like, I might have a husband and like, I'm going to really take this seriously because I told him about how there was experts and they really analyze you. And then after they're done analyzing you and analyzing lots of people, they see if they can find 2 matches that are like scientifically perfectly paired. And it would be like a perfect husband. And he was like, oh, okay, cool. Didn't think anything of it. And then I was like, oh yeah, well actually they found me a match and I'm going to get married. And he then it wasn't immediately. It was like,
did you tell him over the phone?
I did. Yeah. I mean, it's not like it wasn't a surprise though. I mean,
right, yeah.
There was a whole process leading up to it, but yeah. That didn't feel good I didn't realize that he was that like committed, I guess.
Yeah.
But my dog did pee on his couch, so I guess that's commitment.
Well, you left
if he didn't boot me out then that was
a lasting impression.
Yeah, for real.
And I think a lot of people don't realize that part of the show though, because and anybody that's thinking about Married at First Sight, I don't know if the process is different now, but for me, when I went to the final casting call, so you go through a series of interviews, then they do an on-camera interview with one of the producers, and then they send you a big questionnaire, and then you get invited to this final casting call. For the casting call that I was at, there was maybe 50, 60, 70 guys all in one hotel conference room. Yeah. And then they bring out the producer to the show. She explains a little bit. They introduce where the show came from, which was the show in Denmark, and they say Married at First Sight. And they say, we're going to do this intense background on you. We're going to get to know you, what you want in a partner, and what your beliefs are, your deal breakers. And based on that information, if they find someone that is a perfect match, the first time you see that person will be at your wedding at the end of the aisle. And that's when a lot of people just got up and left.
Oh yeah, for mine too. So Doug's obviously with the men. They kept the men and the women separate. And so there was probably, 200 to 300 women. There's always more women than men that are willing to do something wild for love.
So many people that got up and left.
Yeah. And so same thing is, like the tape, everyone was sitting down with a little packet of information ahead of them, and half the room, like right when they said that, like didn't even let her finish her presentation. They just got up and left. And I thought that was quite rude. I was like,
even if I wouldn't go through with it, I think I would have stayed.
She's up there talking and presenting. Like, I felt like that was so rude to just get up and go. But I guess then again, it's like time is money. And like, they were like, nope, I'm out.
Yeah. Well, I think because what I noticed too, there was a couple people that stayed that were actors in New York. So I think
there was actors there?
Yeah, there were actors there. So I think
why were there actors there? Because they were looking for love?
Yeah, I think they sort of saw this as maybe an opportunity for them to get on TV and stuff. So them thinking that it's a love experiment, them getting on TV could help their career. So maybe they specifically called up different agencies and said, hey, we have this show idea, but nobody knew it was Married at First Sight until you heard that in person. And then they introduced the experts, and I had stayed to the end. I watched. I remember asking a couple questions, and this Chris Colin, who's the head guy over at Kinetic, the producing company for Married at First Sight. I remember just saying to him, I go, so basically, you want us to be America's couple? And he goes,
you said that to him?
Yeah, and he goes, yes, that's exactly it. Because after and in my head, I didn't think it was weird. I didn't think it was a crazy idea at all. The marriage thing, yes. Obviously that's crazy, but my idea was, okay, if I trust this process, if I trust that these experts are genuine, and, I got to spend time with the experts at this little final casting call, they're going to tell me I'm going to tell them all about me, my beliefs, my goals, my morals, my deal breakers, painting a perfect picture of what my wife would want to look like. You're telling me that based on all that information, if they find a perfect match for you, then you're going to meet that person at the end of the aisle at your wedding. And my thought was, if I'm painting a perfect picture of everything and you're matching them based on all my information, my psychology, my sociology, that person, you're going to look for that person. And they were like, yes. And I said, okay, well, that's a no-brainer for me.
Kind of same for me. Cause I was like, I feel like they presented it differently to me. It was also called the Love Experiment. this was not about marriage. It was just dating, and all the things were the same. Like you have experts who are going to help you. They're going to analyze, find a perfect match. Then you get to date them. And when you struggle, there's going to be experts there to kind of guide you. And I was like, wow, that sounds like, I'm like, you're going to do this for free? Like, I'm like, okay, sure. I mean, if you want to help me find, you know, the right guy and help me be like the right person for him as well, like sign me up. Like that sounds amazing.
They had a really good cheese and fruit spread at the final casting call, so that helped.
Doug, you're so
starving.
You're so silly. But so then the other thing was that so at the final casting, like, did you explain how they said, oh yeah, this isn't just dating, this is actually marriage, and you're going to marry someone in 2 weeks?
Yes.
You explained that?
Well, I said that when they said, based on your information, they find a perfect match, the first time you meet that person will be at your wedding.
Yeah. So,
marriage.
So that was like obviously that was a huge bombshell because everyone had thought it was just dating up until then. And so then of course half the room left because they were like, I'm not marrying a complete stranger. And then
how did they call you?
So they called and left a message on my phone.
But why do you think they called you?
I don't know. I mean, I was obviously on The Bachelor, and so...
But were you on dating sites? Like, was your phone number somewhere?
They told me that they were calling on to people like law offices, if anyone was single. They were calling like doctor offices to see if anybody was single looking for love. Apparently they were cold calling all sorts of different jobs and occupations, finding people who were within like whatever the age range was, looking for love, like if they were interested. And so, I mean, I'm sure my information was out there as well, but that's how I got the call. And obviously I had just done The Bachelor and The Bachelor pad, and I kind of felt like I made a fool of myself because I was just so awkward and weird, and I don't know. And so I really wasn't interested in doing like a love show on television to then just continue to be like, continue to dig myself 6 feet under, you know, or whatever.
Well, that could have tainted your view on dating shows based on like if you
that's
based
exactly
it on The
it.
Bachelor.
Well, that was exactly it. I was like, and that's why I said, I'm not kissing him, because I thought that they were going to make me kiss you just for TV. And I was like, no, I'm not. I don't want to do that just because you have a camera here. Like if I feel like I love him, then I'll kiss him, but like, don't make me kiss him or hold. And like when they told me to sit on your lap, I was like, oh no, I thought this was going to be, because, you know, they showed us the Denmark version. So when part of that casting call was that you got to see the Danish version of Married at First Sight. And it was absolutely nothing like The Bachelor. And there's nothing wrong with The Bachelor, but it is a bit, there is an agenda there, obviously, that one guy falls in love with this one girl and he has to pick her out. And so they're like, how are you going to stand apart? And what are you going to do? And I'm like, I just want to be myself. And
they also cut you off from reality though.
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like The Bachelor.
Oh yeah, that show was entirely different than Married at First Sight, and so that's what drew me to Married at First Sight was that, first of all, you could just tell that it wasn't as produced because, you know, like we would have like destinations and you would have like rose ceremonies and things like that in The Bachelor. This was more like, you literally meet the family. For The Bachelor, you don't meet the family until the very end of the season. This was like, you meet the family the day of the wedding. Like it's real. Like this is a real thing. It's not like a game show. And so that was very ideal for me, like if they were going to help me and whatnot. But then sorry, I just saw our accountant just messaged us, and it's if anybody else has a small business, it's past September 15th, which means your taxes are due. And I just paid our taxes, just FYI. But so what was I saying though?
You were talking about I think what you were getting to was that Married at First Sight seemed like it was more of a documentary.
Yes, and so that's what I really liked about it, was that it really was more of a documentary.
All right, well, hold that thought for a second.
Okay.
What is the most important part to feeling confident and good when you go on a date?
I'm going to say my clothes and my makeup and hair.
Smell. Smelling bad is the number one mood killer, according to a study that I did in my own head, which is why I'm very excited to introduce our partner for this podcast episode, Lumi.
Yeah, Lumi's deodorant is one of a kind because you can apply it anywhere. And when I say anywhere, I mean your pits, your under boobs, your thigh folds, belly buttons, butt cracks, vulvas, and feet.
Vulvas?
Yeah, anywhere.
All right. Well, it was actually created by an OBGYN, which explains the vulva part. But she proved through clinical testing that most BO is caused by bacteria on the skin digesting your fluids.
Your
I don't know if
bodily
you knew
fluids.
that.
Yeah.
So Lumi actually blocks that bacteria from sitting down at that all-you-can-eat fluid buffet on your body, which kind of makes it like a pre-deodorant.
Oh my gosh, that sounds really gross. I use the
It
Lumi.
stinks.
Yeah, no pun intended. I used the Lumi whole body deodorant cream yesterday morning, and of course I take a shower and I still smell the lavender. I am shocked at how good this works.
Yeah, we highly recommend Lumi's starter pack for any new customers. You get a solid stick of deodorant, a cream tube deodorant, and then they give you 2 free products of your choice. I recommend the mini body wash, the lavender, which I still smell on Jamie, and it's wonderful. But they also have deodorant wipes, which is perfect to leave in a car, purse, backpack.
Yeah, Lumi has a special offer on that starter pack. So when you go to lumideodorant.com, use the code HMCP for $5 off, which is over 40% off the starter pack.
Don't be the smelly one on the date. Head over to lumideodorant.com. That's LUMIDEODORANT.com and use the code HMCP for $5 off that starter pack.
Okay, let's get back to it.
All right. Because the way it was pitched, they were going to follow you. Like, we weren't going to have to take off work. There was going to be a honeymoon that we would go on, but it was only going to be like 4.5 days where we're gone. And they would follow us and film us before and after work.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happened.
And that's what happened.
Yeah, and so
The company I work for did not want, I didn't want cameras in where I worked.
yeah, I worked
all.
at Columbia Presbyterian.
Yeah.
It's a New York Presbyterian hospital, and
They wouldn't even allow us to film in your building because
Yeah.
it was affiliated.
yeah, they would not allow us to film there either. A lot of people, like businesses, don't want to be a part of that. All I meant to say with that story was just that I knew, I could tell right from the get-go that it was going to be very different from The Bachelor, and that it seemed more of a docu-series. Like, it was pitched to us like it was a documentary more than like reality TV. And so I felt like excited even, like, but also kind of safe to go into it, like knowing that, okay, I'm not like competing and it's not, this awkward thing. It's like actually going to be like our real lives, and we're actually going to be married. And the truth is that I think I needed like the marriage. Like, there's something to be said for knowing that you and your partner are 100% committed. Like, a lot of times in relationships, you aren't sure like where the other person is. Like, for example, that guy I was dating, not for nothing, but he was, I guess, way more committed than I was. And that's so scary and feels so unfair, and it's wrong. And I feel like, a lot of people knock arranged marriages. They're not familiar with it, although it's becoming, it's been around for centuries upon centuries.
Yeah, I think here though it's not as common as it is across the world.
Yeah, exactly. And what's interesting is people mocked us for being married at first sight, thinking that, and I could understand why. We did it on television.
Desperate for love,
Yeah.
and you just want to be on camera.
Yeah. Like,
blah,
you want to be
blah.
on TV, but like it really wasn't that for, it was on a network called FYI.
Yeah,
Like, if you want to get famous, I don't think that's where you're going to go. That doesn't even exist anymore.
Yeah, they literally took the bio channel and turned it into FYI. And there was like, our show was one of the shows on, I think they were running reruns of other things, but
Yeah.
But
the show did take off, and I think it's because they did allow me to be authentic. So, so that's what I was getting at, was that at our wedding day, and I think the reason I come off so like shallow and cold is because they're like, oh, hold his hand, kiss him. And I'm like, you're going to make me, I thought this was different. Like, I thought this was a docuseries. Like, you're not going to make me pretend I'm in love with this guy. I just met him. Like, and I think that's why I freaked out a little bit, because I was like, oh no, what did I sign up for? Like, I thought this was different. And not only, am I married to someone that I didn't have that chemistry for, but also, they're telling me to like sit on his lap and pretend like we're a happily married couple. I'm like, I met the dude like 2 hours ago at the most, like maybe it was like 20 minutes ago. And so, I was like, oh no, so it wasn't even just because everyone says, how did you have that reaction and how did Doug handle it? And it's like, it wasn't just even
I heard about it.
Doug. It was like the production. It's a lot when you have cameras following you and people telling you what to do, and it was just so awkward and weird.
Our field producer, shout out to Carly.
Yeah, Carly, sure.
Yeah, so her and Katie.
Katie Zakula.
I remember my sister was the one that told me that you were freaking out. Where she said, she goes, Doug cut it. cut it with the wifey sort of talk, like don't call her your wife because she's
he was calling me his
out.
wife. I was like, what?
And I don't remember how I said it, but all of a sudden you were gone, and then the producer Carly came up to me and she goes, Doug, it's time for you to turn your charm on, okay? And that's when I sort of knew that you were kind of freaking out. So I just backed off a little bit,
which was smart,
and like I didn't come on strong at all. I think I hung out with your nephew.
Yeah, and then my nephew started calling you Uncle Doug, and I was like, "This
and that
is
was weird for you."
Out of control. I don't know what's happening. I just met this guy, and now my nephew is calling him Uncle Doug. Like this is like so strange.
Oh, that was such a long day. They got us a limo, or they got me a limo, and they picked me up at my parents' house because that's where I was living at the time. And I think it was my brother and I took the limo together. I think maybe my mom was in the limo too. I remember it just being such a long day.
Yeah.
And, they left me up at the altar for like 25 minutes. I was sweating bullets, staring at a bunch of strangers on one side of the aisle, looking at me, me trying to figure out which one is your parents and which one, just to get a sense of what you look like. And just waiting and waiting and waiting. And thankfully I had a towel in my pocket that I just kept wiping my forehead. Just really waiting, and
which is so frustrating because they made me wait and wait. I mean, I was ready for hours. It felt like I'm like, was he not ready? Like, is he still there? Like, what's going on? Like, why am I still standing up here? I'm 100% ready. I'm in my wedding dress. My hair, my makeup is done. I just keep looking in the mirror. Like, do I need to do something else? Because I'm so nervous. And also my friend Kirsten came up and we shared a bottle of champagne, and so I literally drank champagne. I was like basically like probably hungover by the time we actually said I do. Like I was funny.
I wasn't drinking at all.
Yeah.
But because it was funny because I remember the door opens and you have your niece and nephew as like a flower girl and I don't know if it was a ring bearer, but I remember seeing them first and I was like,
they're both redheads.
They're both redheads. I said that like it was kind of a deal breaker, a red hair. Nothing against red hair people. I just haven't been really attracted to people with red hair. So the two gingeriest kids walked down the aisle, and then her bridesmaids start coming out, and I had found out that it was your sisters, like each of your sisters. And I remember saying like being in shape and fitness is important to me, and I'm very athletic. Well, listen, if they played anybody's deal breaker list, you would think that they were a horrible person. I wasn't being horrible. I never said someone overweight or anything like that. I said, I take care of my body. I'm very athletic. And I would want someone to do athletic things with. And so I would want someone that cares about, just that sense of sports or working out. And because I was very into working out at the time. So I didn't say anything about being overweight. And I wouldn't have, even though I think they sort of filmed a little bit of that or recorded it. But so I said that. And I remember just seeing your sisters coming down the aisle. And it was one that, like, your sisters look so different from each other.
I know.
I was like, how are they sisters, first of all? And I just see, because my brother was there with me for the whole thing too, and he knew the whole process. And I just remember him looking at me and going, I told you so. I told you. I told you this was going to be a joke. I told you. And yeah, and then Jamie walks in, and I couldn't stop smiling. And my brother then just looks, and he goes, wow, she's way prettier than he is. Yeah.
Yeah, but that goes to tell you that, like, everybody judges by the book. I mean, like, the book, everyone judges the book by the cover is what I'm trying to say. Like, everybody judges appearances. And it's so sad because when you think about it, someone who you aren't attracted to could become the love of your life.
Yeah.
Someone who you're so attracted to could be an absolutely miserable person to be around.
Yeah.
So it's really so silly that we are so, we just judge and judge and judge on just appearances alone.
I genuinely think that there's some sort of, what do they call them? Pheromones?
Yeah, there really are pheromones.
I genuinely think that there are compatible because if you think back to the people that you've dated in the past, whether it's a smell or there was something that just like really got you attracted to each other, and you just were there's some law of attraction
not always
there that it's
the way they look.
Right.
It's actually like really
it's some sort of X factor.
There's an X factor for sure.
Yeah, because like there's people that you just jive with, and you can have someone that you think is knockout 10, but then you don't really talk to them. But then the person that you start to be with, you think that they're a 10 because there's just something there.
Yeah. And I not to I don't know, beat a dead horse about this, but I really think that type of attraction can grow in a relationship. Like I watch Married at First Sight now time and time again, where these relationships, like one isn't attracted to the other and they just like sign
give up
out
right away. It's so frustrating.
It's sad because for me, I'm like, man, if I would have done that, then we wouldn't have our children. We wouldn't have each other for almost 10 years. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't have known a love that could kind of dissipate and then come back and then kind of dissipate and come back. And every time it comes back stronger. I mean, there's a lot to be said for sticking it out with one person and then getting to ride the highs with that person and like being so comfortable. Like you don't have to worry about going through all the mundane little things, when you're going on date after date with different people.
Yeah. And I mean, everything was a first for us when we first got together.
Yeah.
It was like the first time and then just figuring out what you told the experts. But that's why it's so different from Married at First Sight today. Just because they didn't want us to even know the other couples.
Yeah.
They didn't want any interaction with the other couples.
Yeah, they would not let us know the other couples.
Yeah, they didn't
now
want
they
us
like put them in a house together.
Or texting or anything with them. Yeah. There was only 3 couples that were there. We met with every expert and sat down with them as part of the show. And I think that the experts in many ways saved our relationship through the experiment of Married at First Sight.
Dr. Salona was so helpful for me. I mean, he was a psychologist on our season. I think they were only on season 1 and 2, our experts.
Yeah.
But Dr. Salona, I mean, I still love him to this day because I felt like he really cared, He
really did. They all did.
They really cared. And it wasn't just like, oh, let's throw people together for TV. I mean, I think that's the difference between the first season and whatever season we're on now is that you can't always get that when the show is successful. Mm-hmm. Now it's on Lifetime and it has millions of viewers and, it's very, very successful. So you can't always get like people who genuinely want the relationship. Whereas I feel like every single person on season 1
and
genuinely,
season 2, I would say.
Probably season 2 as well.
By season 3, I feel like that's when things started to be tainted a little bit, meaning that people knew what the show was. They knew essentially what the process was going to be in the beginning. They knew what you would be doing on the episodes and things like that.
Yeah, so then it was definitely tainted, and it's obviously a bit tainted now. It doesn't make it. It's still a great show to watch, and people still stay married.
But that's why it's evolved.
But it's just so different because we were all very, very genuine about trying to make this relationship work. Like I know Courtney and Jason worked really hard to try to keep their marriage together because they really wanted it, and Monet and Vaughn, that just.
They tried,
they tried during the experiment, but that just wasn't going to work. And that's okay, and honestly, for the people who said that we were just making a mockery of marriage and shame on us, it's like, even if you're marrying someone that you've dated, you can divorce within, 6 months. I mean, it's unfortunately the rates are 50-50. And so that was a big thing that they said to us was like, right now, statistically, the divorce rate is hovering around 50 to 51%. And that
I think it's actually higher in arranged marriages.
The divorce rate is lower in
that's what I mean.
Marriage.
It's like,
but what I'm saying though is that that's what they said to me when they were talking about the love experiment is that, and after they dropped the bombshell that it was marriage, they said, listen, what we're trying to do here is see if we can take science and mix it in with love and see if relationships can last longer when it's not just based on judging a book by its cover.
Yeah. And this was right as soon as I think Dr. Pepper was heavily involved in some of the algorithms with like Match.com.
Oh, yeah.
They would match up people online.
I don't know if it was Match.com, but Dr. Pepper helped create part of the algorithm for dating sites. I mean, every single expert they're just so
accomplished in their field.
And so I was like, not a chance they're going to tie their name to a TV show where everybody just like fights and gets divorced. I mean, they really, and I think Married at First Sight
to work. They wanted.
Yeah, they were really trying to change the statistic, like see if we could get more, like higher than 50%. I'd have to say now, like I would say probably, what do you think the percentage is for people who stay together on Married at First Sight?
I just saw it there. I think there's 12 couples that have stayed together
and are still
so far, and I think there's 70 something couples that have been around through the show.
Well, that ain't 50-50, and it isn't.
I don't want you to quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that it's close to that.
Okay. Well, needless to say, they had really good intentions, and I'm really thankful because it got me you, and
and I'm thankful they got me you and everything.
But
I do think that regardless of what happens on the show, I do think, there's some outliers. There's going to be outliers in every so often. And the people that were just like, that you saw as like a-holes on the show are a-holes in real life. That's a given. But I think everyone learns something about themselves, regardless if they stay together or not.
Exactly. And I always thought, even in real life, divorce isn't like something you should be ashamed of. It's not a sin. It's not wrong. I mean, I really think that divorce is when two people realize that they've tried everything they could do to make it work, but they realize that they're genuinely just not fit for each other to live happily together. And we get one life to live. Why on earth would you stay with someone?
Which is part of the frustration of Married at First Sight a little bit, because, you see some couples that don't make it. Yeah. They don't give it that chance. Yeah. They don't really. Well,
what's even more frustrating is when the one is trying to, and then the other is like halfway trying, or trying sometimes and then trying, not trying. And what's sad is like, that is so indicative of real life relationships. Like, I'm sure someone listening, I'm sorry if it's you, but I'm sure you have it's like there's people who are listening that have partners that try sometimes and don't try other times. And
it's no fault to the show. That it's not like they could know that.
Oh no, of course not. But I'm just saying like that it does show a real relationship. And so it was entirely different than The Bachelor, without a doubt. I was a little scared that it was that they were trying they were trying to like make me do things because I was your wife.
They didn't make it a big deal. That you were on that show.
Well, they actually almost didn't take me because I was on The Bachelor. So I remember I had an extra interview with Dr. Salona because I don't know why. Actually, I only found out
because they
later.
wanted people that were genuine about marriage and not someone that was just going to do it for TV.
Yeah.
That's what I had heard.
Yeah. They thought maybe, I guess I was doing it for TV.
You were doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah. Well, so then they interviewed me to make sure. And I don't even know what I said. How can you define, I guess, like, I don't even know what I said. But
I think they just took into account your story and everything else that you were looking to go through with it.
Yeah. So, needless to say, there's a lot of things that could have happened. I mean, I know I was matched with Jason at one point, or they like threw around the match of Jason and I. So that's another interesting thought about Married at First Sight.
And me and the opera singer.
There was an opera singer on our season?
That was that they followed.
You and the opera singer? Really?
As part of the casting call, they floated the idea of, and I saw this in the show. I never heard before, but I saw it when they were playing the episode. The girl that was the opera singer, we matched well, but she didn't want children anytime soon. So that's why they didn't match us up right from the start.
So there are a lot of different things that happened that we could have, could have not been matched or married today. And so I feel like it's just really, at the end of the day, I just thank God that he knew, because I don't know that Jason and I would have worked out, I don't know.
I don't think you guys would have.
I have no idea, but
I think I'm the only person that it would have worked out with.
Yeah, that's probably true. I'm nothing against Jason, but he's a real nice guy, but probably maybe not really my type. But then again, I don't know. What do you
never
know
know
about types?
Yeah,
but
I hope that answers that question. We pretty much almost did a whole episode just on
talking about Married
process.
at First Sight. Well, Married at First Sight is coming back. I
Yes.
believe it's definitely coming back in October. I can't remember the exact date. And we have been talking about potentially doing a 10-year vow renewal. And
yeah, that's right.
well,
that's
we're absolutely doing a 10-year vow renewal, because talking about our wedding and how awkward it was and all the things. I mean, we've renewed our vows before, but I really want to have an actual, like a wedding, like one where I invite friends and family, not just 25 people. And, like, and so for our 5-year vow renewal, it was just the two of us, which was great and intimate, and I loved it. And our vow renewal right after we were married, it was our family, but I was like, it was just like a bit chaotic, I would say, because my mom was there and my mom and I were like not in good terms, and I barely knew his family.
It was still a good trip though.
It was a great trip. Yeah. Except we ended up sleeping on a pull-out couch.
Yeah, that was miserable.
Yeah, that's a whole different story.
Yeah.
Like his sister's back got hurt or something. So it's our
My
wedding
sister's great with pain.
vow renewal. And
You would have thought she was paralyzed for the rest of her life the way she was acting.
I know she seemed like she was in so much pain. She was so annoyed she was on a pull-out couch. So I was like, here, why don't you take our room and we'll sleep on the pull-out couch. And yeah, that was such a trip. It was a lot of fun though. But I still like, I don't know. I think that as often as you can, you should celebrate your marriage and love. And so I feel like 10 years is a huge, like, I can't believe.
And recommit.
I think, and recommit, and just remember it shouldn't take a vow renewal or something to remind you to be thankful and to, recommit and to just be like kind of fall in love all over again. But
Pastor Cal talks about that a lot.
What?
About how the two people that get married 10 years later are not the same two people. And you can't expect to have the same feelings going
10 years
through.
later.
And so you do grow with the person.
Yeah.
And not every day is going to be amazing and butterflies and everything else and the excitement. Not every day. And that shouldn't be the expectation.
It's really like having a partner in life more so than I think some people look at like marriage and relationships like it's whimsical and it's fairy tale and it's love and it's dating and it's flowers and roses and chocolates. But that is not the reality.
Especially if you're diabetic.
Yeah, but no, like it's not the reality. I mean, I feel like our reality, for goodness sakes, yesterday, Henley really wanted alone time with me. She wanted to, all day she was begging me to just take her on a date and she really wanted to go to Chili's. She saw Chili's on YouTube and was like,
she's been on this Chili's
She has
kick.
wanted to go to Chili's, the restaurant.
She doesn't even
Chili's.
know what Chili's type of food is.
Yeah, she does. She saw the little
now
pepper.
She does.
And so anyway, she just really wanted to do that. And I was like, okay, but Henley, if mommy spends this time with you, then I'm not going to get that time with Hendrix. So that means I'm going to take him out and it's going to be a special day for him. And so I came home and told Doug, oh, she was so sweet. She had we had so much fun. She really, like, if your kid comes to you and says they need some alone time with you, that's a sign that you probably missed a couple signs prior. Like I'm going to forgive myself a little bit, but like she really needs some attention right now. And I'm trying really hard to like be really present with her and give her that attention. But so I also want to do the same thing for Hendrix. And so I came home and I said, oh, Doug, she had such a good time. I got to do this with Hendrix. I feel so bad. And he's like,
what about me?
Yeah. He was like,
when do I get alone time? When do I get a date?
And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm only one person. What can I do? And that is 10 years later, so it really is.
With kids.
Yeah. And then that's just life as a mom and a wife.
Well, before we forget, because we didn't do this at the top of the show.
We wouldn't forget though. It's right there. We have it.
We love to read your reviews. And we always give a shout out to a 5-star review, which this one is from Mimi2MCPM, who writes...
And fair warning, this one is very emotional and deep. And I wanted to say right at the top, Mimi, that my heart goes out to you. And I will literally be praying for you tonight. And I said a prayer for you when I first read this, because it's just, it's just real life stuff that happens. And I'm just sorry that you're going through it. But anyways, go ahead, Doug.
So it says, Doug and Jamie, I hope you read this. I lost my cousin to an overdose 2 weeks ago on September 2nd. She died one day shy of her 40th birthday. I also lost my 15-year-old nephew to suicide 3 years ago. I've been struggling with some very difficult emotions this past week. I listened to your podcast, How to Find the Light in an Abusive, Seemingly Hopeless Tunnel. Your story about sitting in the bathroom looking at the razors as a young teenager hit me hard. You and Doug talking about addiction and mental health issues is exactly what I needed to hear. Your stories are eerily similar to mine. First off, can I say how grateful and how thankful I am that you and Doug are back? I've missed your raw and heartfelt podcast. Drug addiction and alcoholism runs deep in my family. So does anxiety and depression. Listening to the stories of Doug's recovery and journey to sobriety has been so inspiring and helpful. Yesterday, I cried through your entire podcast as I listened to you share your story about your love for Jesus Christ. I love that you are not afraid to share your love for our Heavenly Father. You have no idea how much I needed to hear your words. I am a very positive and optimistic person. I truly believe that everything happens for a reason and that there's a purpose in all things. Even in our darkest days and nights, there is always something to be thankful for. I have been struggling with emotions of guilt the last week. I wish I could have helped my cousin, but she was just too toxic and I had to separate myself from her. I couldn't invite that toxicity into my life. I have a husband and family that come first. Her addiction was too much for me and I needed to focus on my family and provide a healthy and comfort and positive environment for us. I prayed for her all the time. I take comfort in knowing that my nephew and cousin both knew the Lord and accepted him as their Lord and Savior. Their souls are at peace and they are in his arms for all eternity. Thank you, Jamie and Doug, for being so transparent. Your words have truly helped me this past week. God bless you both.
I just can't say,
Yeah.
just how sorry I am that you're going through that. That's an awful lot to be going through. And also I feel like,
there is a lot to say about the prayers. I'm slowly coming around to it. I was never a religious person. It was always something with a higher power. But I tell you, just going to church, you do notice positive changes in your life. I don't know if I'll ever be real religious. Maybe I will, or, openly, somebody asked me the other day at church, so when were you saved?
Yeah. And Doug was like, what?
And
What does that even mean?
I was like, I don't know. What do you mean saved? I've never been in, but anyway, but now I understand what it means. And, I think that regardless of what your faith is, having something there, and having that sort of offset the burden on you, and just believing in something positive is a huge, huge help for any anxiety, depression, but also you're not the only person that's going through these things at all.
Yeah.
So
I'm just thankful that you reached out. I know that you had also commented on my Instagram. And so, I just want you to know that we see you and we support you. And a lot of people will say to me, I hope you read this. I don't know if you see this. And I do see, especially comments. I see every single comment. I try to like them all because that's easy. I can't respond to absolutely every single person, even though I genuinely wish I could. But I would spend my whole day in front of my phone. But I also check my DMs and, I'm not as good at keeping up on DMs as I am with comments, but I try really hard to, I just genuinely love the community that we have. And I don't have a ton of friends, as you probably know. That sounds real desperate, but
no, we're getting there.
Yeah, we are. We're really starting to find our community and whatnot. And so, but I still will always be forever thankful for my online community, like my kids' internet aunties, all of you listening and who are on our Instagram and TikTok and whatnot. Speaking of TikTok, we had our first viral video.
Wow. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I can't even believe this.
Yeah. So, I remember seeing a video where there was a mom that stepped on a broom and they played kind of like what that jewelry box ballerina music, or ding, 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 ding. And I saw her stand on a broom and one of her kids she was posing and just sort of walking it around. So I did that with Henley. I did it with me. And Hendrix got involved, and
Yeah.
Hendrix put on I don't even know what the hair thing is called. Cat ears, and then he put on one of Henley's skirts and stood on.
Well,
there.
Henley highly influences
Yeah,
him.
and Hendrix was the perfect
Little ballerina.
Jewelry box ballerina.
Yeah, and Henley was the perfect dance instructor, telling him exactly how to pose.
And Hendrix put his arms up, and
was
you know,
cute.
I did a dustpan, and you sort of twist the back as like you're winding him up, and went through. And this is our first viral video.
We didn't even plan. I mean, it was just
On
a cute thing
TikTok.
that happened. Like it wasn't like we planned this thing. Although, I mean, I do kind of want to. I think it's fun to be able to watch content that makes you laugh and feel good. And so I would like to try to plan that, but that's, especially after this went viral, I'm like, I feel like the world needs more of that.
Close to 11 million views on TikTok
has
right now.
Over 10 million views right now on TikTok, and
over 1 million likes. I think it's crazy.
And that wasn't anything. We did not plan for that. Like that was just like, it was just a cute moment, and it was so. It was just so
That's
sweet.
what they do with that.
Yeah, that is what they do.
Dress up.
Yeah, that's what happens when you have a big sister who
look for silly
wants you to
videos
wear a
to do.
tutu with her and her cat ears, and she wants to teach you how to be a ballerina like she is.
We want to make videos that make mommy laugh.
Yeah. Oh my God. I love it so much. But anyways, yeah. So, well, that is all we have for today for you. We are so thankful that you keep on coming back and you're tuned in. If you're listening to this now, I am so thankful for you. Because you stuck it out with us another episode. I hope that it's meaningful and fun and light. And, sometimes, I mean, it's just going to be real and raw. I can promise you that every single time. Not every time is it going to be, funny or light, or it's just going to be real and raw.
Yeah. And we do appreciate your comments and questions that you send in. And so that's where I kind of got the idea for this episode. Was a lot of people always ask us about the start of Married at First Sight, what the difference is, how it's changed, but also what we were doing right before the show. So hopefully that went into a big detail. And I do want to say that we have a guest on for next week, which is exciting.
Doug has been wanting a guest on for a long time. And I'm like, I kind of don't mind it just us two. I like talking to you, hubby. What, are you trying to get away from talking to me?
No, but it is nice to have a little break. And so we have Maddie Smith that's coming on from Family Made. So we're going to have her on, and we'll talk through some things, and it's all about positivity, and
which we could all use a lot of positivity. Yeah. I mean, I'm always open for different ways to become more positive and to feel like loved and all the things.
Yeah, and we will have an update on the medication journey that I've been on.
Yeah, so we have big news about that, which is very exciting.
And we love you, and
well, have a good week. We'll talk to you next week.
Goodbye.
Bye.